Okay, so let's take a look at how you can create instance of Azure database for PostgreSQL. So I will go to Azure portal, and here in menu I will go for all services, right? So once we go there, we have to check for database, right? So from the left hand side menu, let's just check these databases. Now here you will see Azure database for PostgreSQL. So we will create an instance of this, and then we will use variety of ways to connect this instance to data admin tools like Azure Data Studio, dbeaver, Table Plus, and others, right? So we will click on that. Now we will also click on create button because we don't have any existing instance, right? Once we go here, there are plenty of options that we have, like you have Azure Cosmos DB for PostgreSQL, which is not relevant. Then Azure Database for PostgreSQL, flexible. And then there is single server option and Azure Arc enable. Right. So considering I don't have any apps, I will choose flexible server. Right. You can choose from these options. Click on create, and then you will go to next option where we have this option to configure the server, right? And on the right hand side you will see estimated cost table, so you get the idea how much you are spending to monthly host that database. So here I will add resource group, right? Then I will choose server name, so let's say dev postgres, so I will keep that name. Alright, so let's go with dev PostgreSQL. Let's try other names. Okay, it seems like name conflict has been going on. So let's see if we can use my PostgreSQL. Okay. Okay, so let's go complicated. So I will use my brand name next to PostgreSQL. Now comes the region part. So currently East US would cost me 11,360 as storage. So we'll try to put down some cost here, right, by simply changing the workload. Right, from production I went to development, and notice that the cost overall is reduced down to 1000 INR. It's very cheap. So if I select, like, let's say local to me, add something like South India, it kind of adds the price. So why host in India if I can get cheaper in US, right? So let's go with East US, right? Then comes PostgreSQL version, where we have 14 is the current one at this time. In near future you could be getting access to 15 or 16, most likely 16, so pick the latest version up. Right, now let's pick the compute and storage. Right, so in my case I will pick the smallest possible, which is burstable. Right, then compute size 1 core 2 GB. Currently that's the only good option we have. Rest of the settings I will not mess up, keep it as is. As you can see, only 1263 as the charge we have. Then available zone preference, I'm not letting preference in between there, right? Next is authentication. Now this is important part. Here you have PostgreSQL authentication and Azure Active Directory option, or you can mix the two. So I'll pick the PostgreSQL authentication. Then give a name here as Mahesh, because that's my name. And then next thing is you will have to think of password. So make sure to add some. Okay, now next thing would be adding the password here. So let me paste it. Right, so password is accepted. Our price estimation is 1263, so cheap enough. So I can review and create. Right, okay, everything is reviewed, and now I can go ahead and create. This will take me few minutes. You can add the firewall rules, but I am going to do that later. So first let's deploy this. And here, as you can see, our deployment is in progress. On the left hand side, once the deployment is complete, we get all the options on this particular sidebar here. So even in near future, you will see interface like this or any interface changes. Always remember that within your deployment, you have options to do all the changes related to your connection strings, your securities, networking policies, and also settings related to the connection. Okay, now the deployment is complete, and now I can go to the resource, right? So here on the left hand side, like I mentioned, all the options are now visible. Here we will be going for networking because I want to whitelist my IP address, right? So in firewall rule, I can whitelist all the possible IP addresses so that I don't get locked out, right? And then hit save, right? So these two things make sure to do. And one more thing, always stop your PostgreSQL instance the moment you stop working on it, right? So let's assume that you have an app and that is only available for certain time, and then you don't want it to remain idle. So in that case, it's better to just click on stop, and that would stop the server. Right, now let's come to the details for connection. Here you have your server name, then you have your server login, the password that you entered at the time of creating this particular instance is going to be there for acceptance. Right, now apart from that, you have things like databases, so you can check how many database that you have already within the recently deployed PostgreSQL database. So here these are the default, you can connect to it, you can add new as well, right? Then there are connection strings. If you are developing app, can make use of them, right? Apart from that, you need to check for backup restore if you have no provision for that, or if there is provision for that and it retains for say like 7 days or so, that is also one thing to look for, right? So what we have done so far, we set up the PostgreSQL database server in Microsoft Azure along with the size, specific version, and we also set the networking rules as well, right? So you can go through all of that. You can also take a look at authentication option. There is also the data encryption option for you, right? You can also reset the password, right? And also add additional authentication option, which is Active Directory authentication, Azure Active Directory authentication, right? And if you check the data encryption, you will find that currently we are not able to edit any of such properties, so everything is managed by Azure on this side. There will be logs for whatever action you take. You can also set up alerts, right? So let's take a look at here. You can see you will have to run some queries for them. Currently we don't have anything, so there will be no schema to show, right? You can go to overview and get your server details and use some third-party database admin tools to connect and then design your database, work around with it.